Hello, hello. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and welcome to this episode of Heart and Mind. Now, this is episode 47, and it's one you may want to watch more than once. Why? Because today we're talking about the rules, secrets to relationship advantage. So stay with me now as we go forward. I promise you, no more boring Tuesdays. So while nothing else is happening, we're here and I'm sharing information with you that you will not find anywhere else. Now, it's 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. on the Pacific Coast every Tuesday night. Now, you can watch it live on Daily Cloud, on X, Rumble, Facebook, on the Daily Clout page, and Getter. Now, if you're watching this live, please sign in, and that way you can ask me questions or make comments during the broadcast. If you aren't watching this live, the show is also available recorded on my X page at Dr. Dina1. You can also watch it recorded on Rumble and Daily Cloud. Are you ready? Let's get started. Now, again, the reason this is so different from what everyone else offers is because I'm a social psychologist. This is not like clinical psychology where we figure out your neuroses and psychoses. I've had clinical psychologists on the show because they have a lot of valuable information to offer, but I think social psychology has a special place. It's a relatively new science compared to the others. We study the brain and how people learn, how they're influenced and persuaded, how they're manipulated and coerced, and how they're indoctrinated and brainwashed. And when I say they, I mean we, because these tactics work on everyone. And I feel duty bound to bring this crucial information to the public. No one else is telling you, they're just taking advantage of you. So let's look at what we're doing today. And speaking of taking advantage, I'm sure because you're the Daily Cloud audience, your Rumble audience, you're smart enough to get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. You know how crucial it is to understand what was done to us during the COVID epidemic. Pfizer went to court to try to keep this information secret for 75 years, and they wouldn't let them do it. So Dr. Naomi Wolf, Amy Kelly, and the rest of the team, very credible people, rigorous scientists, went through all of that data and boiled it down to the most crucial aspects of what was done, how it was done, what's going on with the drugs that we were forced to take. Well, some of us. Please find out. It hasn't gone away. COVID vaccines are still being given out. They're still being recommended. The tactics that were used are still being used. You need to know this. This is about the safety of yourself and your family. So go to Amazon and get your copy of the Pfizer papers. Now, today's topic came about because last week I talked about relationships and things you can do to improve all of your relationships. And when I went to get a takeout from my favorite local restaurant, they asked me what the topic was for my show. And when I mentioned it, that we had a little chat. And both of the people I was speaking with, both of the people on staff said, we'll watch that because we need to improve our relationships. But one problem we have, and they both agreed on this, is that in their relationships, they were never the ones calling the shots. They were always in the disadvantaged power position in their relationships. And I thought about how common that was, and I decided I'm going to do something about it. So today, we're going to talk about how you can have a relationship advantage. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about you dominating someone else. It could be things just become more even. But this is how you get that relationship advantage that is so crucial. Now, normally in a relationship, the front runner, the person who has the dominant position in a relationship, is the person who cares the least. So, most relationships have someone who has a little bit of an edge over the other person. And it's often because they care least. But that's not how it has to go. The new victor, with the information I'm sharing with you today, is the one with the best tactics. And that's going to be you. So I want you to stay with me as we go through this. Ever wonder why your brain feels foggy even when you're eating clean and exercising? It may not be burnout. It could be parasites. Groundbreaking research from Dr. Alan MacDonald revealed a direct link between chronic parasitic infections and neurological diseases like multiple sclerosis. Parasites can cause inflammation, nerve damage, and long-term cognitive decline. More reason to do a full body cleanse at least once a year. The wellness company has a solution for you. Ivermectin plus menbendazole, the gold standard parasite solution, now combined in one cleanse combo. Designed to eliminate harmful invaders and support your immune system naturally. Medical grade, not some trendy herbal gimmicks. Fill out a quick intake form and get a 3-month supply shipped straight to your door. Maha is officially here, and the wellness company is making hard-to-get medications digitally accessible so you can live your best life. Head to Daily Clout Health and use the code DailyClout to save 60% off plus free shipping on all orders. That's dailyclout.health and use the code DailyClout to cleanse your body today. Now, why am I presenting this as rules? Because it's easier to have just a set of rules to follow. And these are the rules that are not usually shared, or they're shared in social science journals, or you get a little bit here and a little bit there. If you've watched the show before, I always want to make everything as simple as possible and as effective as possible. Every single show I do has information that you can take away and use as soon as the show ends. This is another one of those shows, because these rules will actually increase your attractiveness score. Now, even if you are very charismatic and attractive, most of us want to have more appeal. That's not unusual. And following these rules will definitely do that. And it will also, as with last week, it will help you have better relationships. Now, a lot of people seek out relationships where they have all of the advantages and the person is completely submissive to them. But that's not most people. Most of us want to keep things on an even keel, and this can help. So I want you to really think about this as we go forward with the rules. So here's the winning strategy. This is how you win in relationships. Use solid tactics like the ones I'm going to describe for you today. Welcome the increase in your appeal. Now, you're going to have to deal with that. You will be more appealing. So you may have to have a strategy in place to say no to some people. If a relationship, in spite of your best tactics, your best behaviors, doesn't work out, it doesn't last, these rules will help you heal better and move on faster. And that's something all of us want, because carrying the weight of a past relationship can ruin everything in your life. If you're like me, and you're getting to that age where your body just hurts all the time, then listen up. Don't reach for another painkiller until you learn about this little known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation. You've probably already heard about turmeric being used to fight inflammation and joint pain. But here's the thing, not all turmeric is created equal. Regular turmeric powder in your pantry might help a little, but a leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that is 200 times more powerful than what you find in standard turmeric. And when he shared this turmeric hack with his patients, the results were shocking. This turmeric extract attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch so that pain not only goes away, but stays away. Dr. Josh, the brains behind it all, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans finally break free from constant aches and stiffness. Say goodbye to expensive surgeries, pain injections, or ineffective over-the-counter medications, and say hello to pain-free living. This is incredible stuff. Once I started taking it on a regular basis, I really noticed a difference. But again, you can't just take any old turmeric. So if you want to learn more about Dr. Josh, his turmeric hack, and the exact method for how to use it in your daily routine, just go to goldenrevive.com/dailycloud. The link is right below this video in the description. Just click it and start your journey towards pain-free, healthier life. Now, I have to say this because if you follow this show, if you've watched this show, you know that ethics are a big thing to me. I do know all sorts of clever ways to manipulate people. That's what social psychology studies. How to get people to change their beliefs and behavior and do it in such a way that they don't realize that they have been manipulated by someone else. And in fact, next week, we're going to be talking about a lot of the methods of control and manipulation, not because I want you to go out and start being a bad person, but because I want you to be able to identify these tactics if they're used on you. Now, I have a few people making comments, like basically saying they don't believe that COVID was real. Nettie says COVID is as fake as the moon landing. So we have people making comments. I want you to make comments as we go through. Keep in mind what I just said about how this topic even came about in a conversation with strangers. So if there is something that we're talking about, you want more information, if you have a comment, sign in to whatever platform you're watching this show on and make a comment, leave me a comment, ask me a question. This information is free and it's available now. I want you to take advantage. But we're going to go on and look at how to influence people to increase your attractiveness, to actually get into a position of advantage, not necessarily over someone else, but an advantage compared to where you are now, wherever that happens to be. So let's start with rule 1. And rule 1 came about. This was not part of my original description. This is not it moved up in place because I saw the situation going on social media between our president and Elon. And I said something last week about that, talking about the fact that you should never argue in public, okay? Don't argue in public, don't do that. And don't make people choose between you. Rule number 1, if you want to be more attractive to people, if you want to get an advantage with people, if you want to be trusted, cared for, talked to, admired, respected, learn how to handle your anger, giving in to anger and even annoyance. Now, a version of this for a lot of women is to be constantly annoyed. They don't necessarily express anger the same way men do with open aggression, although a lot of women do. Annoyance is the same thing. Learn how to handle it. People are more comfortable with somebody who can process information quickly and doesn't feel threatened by every little thing. Excuse me, Mr. President. Excuse me, Elon. This is specifically for you. If anybody knows them, please give them my information. I can help them with this. Do not, do not, do not make decisions when you're upset. That's a rule. That's a basic rule. And I would also say, do not make decisions when you're in any kind of heightened state. Even if you're in a situation where you're extremely happy, something great has happened to you, and somebody comes to you and says, hey, can you sign on for this? Or can I do that? You're like, yeah, you're in such a good mood. No, make no decisions when you're in a heightened state, and especially don't make decisions when you're upset. It never turns out well. Once you calm down, sometimes you feel like you have to keep supporting that bad decision because you made it and because you want to be seen as a person of your word. It's okay to say, oops, I flubbed up. Let me backtrack a little bit and then do whatever you can. So the next time you're upset, you have a reminder, I do not make decisions when I'm upset. This is also part of that. Improve your ability to self-soothe. Whether it's reciting a mantra, going for a walk, lifting weights, going for a run, cleaning the house, cooking, really gourmet meals, whatever gets you through. Find something that calms you, that soothes you. Because anger is triggered by the primal part of the brain, the reptilian brain, feeling threatened. So you need to calm that part of the brain. So find something that will calm you down. Because remember, you're going to repeat to yourself, I do not make decisions when I'm in a heightened state. I don't make decisions when I'm super happy, and I don't make decisions when I'm angry. Now, if somebody is coming after you, protect yourself. But watching what's happened over the past week, I would say points go to Team Trump. Because while Elon was obviously incensed and felt betrayed by the fact that he put so much work, sleeping on couches, on floors, to get this workout to identify all the waste, the corruption and whatever, the fact that the big, beautiful bill doesn't directly go after that in the way he thinks it should. He's really angry. I understand him being angry, goodness knows. But Trump calmly responded. He didn't respond in kind. This is what you do. You protect yourself. You don't let somebody just attack you because they're upset. You protect yourself, but you do it calmly and rationally because remember, unless you are on an island somewhere, other people are watching you. They're watching how you deal with this. And they will trust you more if you protect yourself, but you don't go into the same heightened state to respond in kind to the other person. So now we get to the rule. This was actually number one, okay? If you've watched the show before, you know that everything flows out from your integrity. And again, that can actually get you in trouble because integrity means saying what you'll do and doing what you say. But if you're a person who prides themselves on those characteristics and you make a decision during a heightened state, you will often stay in that mistake longer because you don't want people to think that you're fly by night or unreliable or not trustworthy. There is nothing wrong with saying I flubbed up. You know what? I flubbed up and here's how. I made a decision when I was really upset. I made a decision. It's like when I talk to people about romance, and we're going to also talk about romance. It's another thing I want to talk about, the rules for romance next week as well. One of the things I tell people, do not get involved with somebody when you're going through a crisis of any kind. While it can be easy to lean on somebody, if somebody makes themselves available, it can feel like a godsend. And yes, take the help, appreciate it, but don't depend on a relationship that way. It gets really complicated. And often the kind of person you get involved with when you're going through a crisis is not the kind of person that you would choose when things are calmer and things are going your way. So, integrity does not mean you don't admit you made a mistake and backtrack. Please understand that. But if you're talking about a rule that will improve the respect you receive, the bonds people have with you, the trust that you're given, the respect that you're given, this is number one. You could even stop here and you'd be great. Of course, I have more for you, but yeah. Rule 6, clarify your personal principles. Figure out, what do I believe is right? And then live by them. Now that's linked with the integrity, because a person of integrity has principles that they live by. But this is very specific. I want you to think for a second. What is it that you really believe, that you believe is right and true? And it can't be a huge list, just a short list of what you believe. And ask yourself, am I living by my principles? You've heard me mention before how this product has helped me. What about you? Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a plump, hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and type 3 collagen fibers, the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen in your body. It's found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. Types 1 and 3 provide maximum benefits without the need for unnecessary fillers. Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything: coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. Its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes perfectly without clumping. And the best part? Native Path offers amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, including me, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice. Plus, they offer an 800 number for any questions about usage, recipes, or ingredients, and you'll speak to a real person ready to help. Join their private Facebook community to share success stories, recipes, and support each other on this journey called life. Visit getnativepath.com/Daily Clout and start your transformation today. That's GETNATIVEPATH.com/DAILYCLOUT. So, did you think of the principles that that are really important to you? Um, Now, Nettie had made a comment. She said it's hard for her to protect herself. She's in Japan. Uh, Although I'm seeing some information coming out of Japan doing studies on the harms of the COVID vaccine. So it may get a little bit easier in the future. But we can actually have an episode about how do you protect yourself against that. We can do it in a later episode next week, because when I was putting these rules together, I came up with rules for just relationships. And then I realized that there's a whole set that are specific to romantic relationships. So again, I'm going to talk about that next week. And I'm also going to cover some ways of manipulating people, so that you, when somebody either in your personal life or the broader system tries to manipulate you, you can spot it. So we're going to try to do both. I may have to spread that out a little bit because, of course, once I get started on the rules for romance, it may take up the whole episode and we'll have to push it back a week. But I promise I am absolutely going to tell you, because I still see people getting so manipulated. The mass formation is what it's called, when you have the elites, the people in control, purposely deceiving and manipulating the population. I'm still seeing that. And a lot of people are still falling for it. And I don't want any of you to be manipulated that way. So we're going to talk about it. Now, rule number 7, build your self-discipline. Again, integrity principles only work. Handling your anger only work if you have the self-discipline to stop yourself if you're going off track. Any type of self-discipline will build. So even if it's like, okay, from now on, I'm going to make my bed every morning. From now on, I'm getting up at X o'clock, whatever time you want to get up. From now on, I'm going for a walk after dinner. From now on, whatever it happens to be, as you do it, you'll build more confidence in yourself. Your brain will start to rewire itself. Discipline is core. You can't keep to any of the rules. They'll be erratically, sporadically applied, and then none of the benefits that I'm talking about will come. You have to be very rigorous in the application of the rules in order for it to work. But if you do, it does work. Rule 8, build your self-reliance. Now, this is linked to COVID as well. One of the reasons I was able to defy, everybody in my industry, it's one of the reasons I've been able to defy woke ideology in my industry, which is dealing with community services, domestic violence, as you know, diversity training, which I call anti-bias training because I don't do the political stuff. Gambling harm reduction, which is another, flagship program that I do. When I am dealing with people in those industries, they tend to be very far to the progressive left. How am I able to defy them? How was I able to say no to the vaccines, even if I was treated like a total social pariah? How did I handle that? Self-reliance. People cannot emotionally blackmail me to do something. They just can't. I won't give in to it. I'm very self-reliant. Now, that doesn't mean I don't get lonely. It doesn't mean, for instance, that I don't miss my sisters who have really pushed me out of the tent ever since Trump won the election. I was already out of the tent with a couple of them because I don't share progressive left values. I see the danger and the harm in progressive left values. So I was already rejected. But I've been more widely rejected since Trump won the election. But I am not going to be emotionally blackmailed to change my principles. If you want to change my mind, bring me solid evidence, which I will read. Otherwise, no. Do not give in to emotional blackmail. So you have to build your self-reliance. Remember, there's nobody that you cannot live without. That has to be how you handle things. Rule 9, this is core. Be careful what you think and speak, even to yourself. So you don't tell yourself, I'm a loser. You don't tell yourself, I'm lonely. You don't tell yourself anything negative. Because even if you say it to yourself, you hear you, you believe you. And one of the challenges is as you build up your self discipline and integrity, your credibility with yourself is actually going to increase. So you have to be especially cautious in what you say and what you do. And I know a lot of you have heard this poem before attributed to Anonymous. I tried to find out who wrote it, I could not find it. Okay. It just basically says be careful what you think, for your thoughts become your words. Be careful of your words, for your words become your deeds. Be careful of your deeds, for your deeds become your habits. Be careful of your habits, for your habits become your character. Be careful of your character, for your character becomes your destiny. Truer words have never been spoken. Now, let's go a little bit away from that because that was deep, that was intense. It's something you need to think about. As I said, just catch yourself. Sometimes some people believe in aversion bands, some people don't. And an aversion band is basically an elastic band you wear around your wrist. And every time you do something or say something or think something that you no longer want as part of your life, you snap it and then you replace that thought with what you want to be there. That second part is important. Do not leave it empty. If you, for instance, you're trying to not curse so much. Every time you curse, you snap it to remind yourself not to do it. Say something else instead. You have nature abhors a vacuum, and an aversion band won't work unless you actually fill the space with what you want to be there. So rule 10, decide the conditions for each relationship category. One of the things you'll notice that is so different about what we do here on Heart and Mind, as opposed to how most people live their lives. Most people just amble through their lives, letting things happen as they will. You're ahead. When you start thinking about this, what are my rules? What is the line in the sand that I will not cross? What is okay for somebody at this level that's not at that level? And in fact, I'm going to give you a hint. I've actually taught women who lived with reluctant boyfriends how to get these guys to propose and actually get married. Not just a proposal where he thinks you're going to leave, so he tells you you're his fiance now and you're together for another 15 years and nothing ever happens. I'm talking about me going to the weddings, okay? One of the things that happened, I had them really think about what kind of dedication do I give a boyfriend versus what I offer a husband. And men, you can do this just as well. What do you offer a girlfriend that's different from what you'd offer a wife? Be very clear, be very consistent, but do it for all of your relationships. What is okay for a workmate to ask of you and for you to do for a workmate? When you have my circles of intimacy, it helps you clarify what are the rules regarding priorities for each level. And it just makes your life so much easier. And you learn to say no. Rule 11, be choosy. Assess someone before getting involved. Some of the worst people I know are some of the most charming people initially. So don't let the charm fool you. Assess who someone is. What are their principles? How do they live? Are they somebody with integrity? Stand back a little bit, stay a little bit wary, a little bit distant while you're getting to know someone, because you want to be very choosy about whom you have a relationship with, because relationships, as we are going to mention, are a high priority that you put real effort in. And everyone doesn't deserve that. Because rule 12, maintain an emotional support structure. One of the things with the staff member at the restaurant said, oh, I got involved and just collapsed myself into that relationship, didn't have anybody else around. And when that person got bored, I was out in the cold and my support structure had diminished. People didn't really trust me anymore. The bonds had weakened. Don't do that. Maintain an emotional support structure. Your ride and die people, even if you only have one person and you build from there, but keep it regardless of what else is going on in your life. Make it a priority. Rule 13, pay attention to the kind and quality of people drawn to you. Now, if you watch mainstream TV, you know these guys are from a show called Entourage. And these were some of the creepiest, toxic, masculine men I've ever seen. Selfish, horrible. Everything that women say they don't like in men, that was these guys. And they reinforced these attitudes and behaviors because they were all together in a group. So if you really want to know, who am I? Ask yourself, whom do I attract? What kind of people want to be my friend and spend time with me? If these are selfish, creepy people, if these are exploitative people, if these are greedy people, then you have something to work on. If these are really solid, true people, congratulations. You already are a higher quality person. You have to make sure that everybody in your group is as well, because like it or not, know it or not, we all influence each other. Rule 14, and I would also advise this to the people who are influencing our culture at this time. Avoid minions. You need people around you who will hold you accountable. You don't have to be mean to somebody to tell them you flubbed up. You need to make amends. You need to do this right. I love you. I will always love you, but you're not right in this. And in fact, somebody who will tell you you're right when you're wrong, it may make your ego feel better, but they're leading you to a very dark place. Do not have minions. Do not have people where it's a one-sided relationship, where they're always doing and giving things to you, but you don't give anything back. It's one of the reasons with the circles of intimacy, I talked about the importance of having balance. Rule 15, another thing people don't recognize: avoid sharing time confidences with negative people. There is a real cost to being around negative people, and this goes for work situations as well. They've actually done studies and found having one super negative person in a group significantly reduces the productivity of the entire group. These people cast a pall on everything. They make you afraid. They trigger that primal brain again that we keep talking about, the one that keeps getting you in trouble. Be careful about negative people. Now, that doesn't mean somebody could look at what I'm talking about, because I'm actually citing some issues. For me, identifying problems is step one, followed by step two, which is how do we fix it? That's not being negative, that's being realistic. You also, it's less costly, but you also want to be careful about somebody who always sees the bright side, who always says, oh, everything will work out. I know people like that. They are useless. And they keep you from finding areas that need protection. And you can, if you listen to them, you will not protect yourself. You will not take advantage of opportunities. You will not fix the flaws in your plans. You will not succeed to the same level. So a negative person is really bad, but a super positive person is also somebody to keep to the periphery, because they're not someone you want to listen to. Rule 16, keep the balance. Again, this is one of the reasons I talked about the circles of intimacy. One of the real values of the circles of intimacy, and if you didn't watch it already, go on Rumble or Daily Clout and look up episode 11 of Heart and Mind, where I go in detail about the circles of intimacy. I give you the little tests to help you figure out how you really feel about the people in your life, and also how they really feel about you. Nettie says something here. You need a person who can give you good advice. Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that. But yes, you need someone to give you good advice, but it can't be super negative all the time, and it can't be super positive. And in your relationships, before you prioritize someone, before you do something for someone, ask yourself, like I did with my sister, which helped me develop these circles of intimacy. She would always ask me for things, and I asked myself, would she do that for me? And the answer was always no. And so when I developed the circles of intimacy, I recognized that while I had her in not the super, super close, your child or your spouse circle, but the next circle out, close family, super ride and die friends, I had her in that circle. She had me in acquaintances, so almost to the strangers circle. That was so imbalanced. So it was causing me so much hurt and discomfort. And because you can't force somebody to care about you, I had no other choice than to start saying no, to start pushing back and saying, no, I won't do that, even though I didn't mind. It didn't change my feelings, but it changed how I interacted, and it changed the dynamic. And even though she's been mad at me and not about not being woke, somebody who would emotionally blackmail me to adopt attitudes and beliefs that I think are damaging is not somebody I want to be close to me anyway. And that's sad to say, but it's true. Now, if she changes her mind and is more willing to do some of the things that I'm talking about here, I'd take her back in a second. It's my sister. So, yeah, and I have 4 of them. My poor dad, no sons, no grandsons, just a house full of women. Poor guy. Nettie says her spouse would never do for her what she does for him, or what she did for him. He was a freeloader. Yeah. And it's one of the ways to really quickly establish is something wrong. Look at the balance. In your own behavior, be reliable and consistent. If you want to make yourself more attractive, be less moody. I thought I'd take the positive spin and the positive side of it. So I didn't say rule 17, don't be moody. Be reliable and consistent. And as much as people complain, one of the things my daughter has said is, gosh, I know how you're going to interact with me. You're always sweet, the way your tone of voice is kind. Yeah. And it's one of the things when I talk to women about how to be more attractive to men. Now, let me know, do you want me to do a show on how women can be more attractive to men? Because I see a lot of the cultural norms that we have right now are actually leading women very far astray. And men, even if they're involved with them, are keeping them a little bit at arm's length. And you can become more attractive. There's some rules for that too. We could talk about that next week. Let me know. So be reliable and consistent, less moody. Complain less, fix more. So I know culturally, a lot of times women will sit around and just complain. Nobody wants to be around that. And when men hear it, they think that it's a call to action for them, that they're being called to actually fix whatever the problem is. And women just sometimes want to gripe. But it is a good habit for everyone, male or female. Complain less, fix more. I'm not saying don't identify problems. We all need to be really good at doing that, because you can't fix something that you refuse to look at and assess. One of the ways when we talk about social manipulation, and it may have to be 2 episodes from now, when I talk about and really identify how people are manipulated socially, how all these little subtle little tricks that they use. One of the things they get you to do is look away from the issue. And when you do look at it, to look at it with rose-colored glasses. It is a very clever way to keep people from identifying the seriousness of a problem and actually taking steps to address it. But what you can, so basically keep yourself to this. Oh gosh, the traffic is so bad. Every time I leave, it's so bad. Followed by, okay, I don't like the traffic. I don't want to be cranky when I get to work. I don't want to be cranky when I get home. Is there a way of leaving earlier or later or taking a different route? How can I fix this? Think of yourself as a fixer, somebody who doesn't just complain, who also fixes. Rule 19. Ooh. This is a biggie. Stay away from the cluster Bs. And as somebody who has relatives with cluster B personality disorders, it's not always possible to stay completely away from them. So you have to have clear lines of, in the sand. You have to have clear, direction on how you're going to handle the cluster B person. Don't get drawn into their cluster B drama. Keep them at arm's length, and if you can, avoid them as much as possible. Cluster B personality disorders means emotional dysregulation, need for drama, need for attention, hyper selfishness. If you look at the episodes where I talk about why are people woke, there are 3 episodes of Heart and Mind where I talk about why are people woke, and I talk about the fact that the people in charge of the left have purposely developed a culture among the left that makes it especially appealing to people with cluster B personality disorders. And once they get in there, it feeds that, it enables that, it validates that. So you have to be really careful when you're dealing with these people. They can be very troublesome and sometimes quite aggressive or even dangerous. So don't underestimate that. But if you want to know about the cluster Bs, please look at those episodes because they're more common than a lot of people think. Cluster Bs in general are high functioning. Some of them are extremely bright. So it doesn't mean that they are on the periphery, that they don't have a job, that they're chronically unemployed, although sometimes the cluster B do lead to that. There are a lot of cluster Bs at the top of industries because their cluster B personality disorder puts them in a position where they're very strategic about gaining advantage. So don't base it on position. And Nettie says something that I think is really important. Don't ignore red flags. When you see a problem, don't go into denial. No rose-colored glasses, folks. No rose-colored glasses. Now, rule 20, prioritize relationships. The relationships you do have, give them your time, your effort, your listening, your laughter. Don't just expect them to be there. Put real effort in them because, rule 21, you don't want to take the people in your life for granted. You do not want to do that. That is always a mistake. Rule 22, don't hold a grudge, but don't be a doormat. So somebody hurt you, continues to hurt you. Don't sit around thinking bad things about them, holding a grudge. Don't let that negative energy inform your life. Just say no more often. Put more distance between you. It's not that hard to do. You'd be surprised. Rule 23, don't allow anyone to control your life. Now, I put permission and privacy so that if you watch this again later, because there are there are 25 rules I'm talking about here, plus some guidance. So this is an episode you definitely want to watch more than once, okay? Because you want that information to embed itself in the parts of your brain that make your life choices. That is not the logical, rational part that reads and listens to language. You've got pay attention to the imagery, let that stuff really get in deep, so that next time you're in a situation, that you will act on what you've learned. Permission and privacy means, are you someone, it's not saying if you are married, for instance, and you want to go somewhere, you tell your spouse, oh, I'm going after work, I'm going to the mall with so-and-so, or we're going to have a drink over here, or we're going to do. Fine, keep people informed. That's just being considerate. But do you have to ask permission? And do they have a right to say no? If you can't do anything without asking the permission of the other person, whatever their label is, their role is in your life, then you are being controlled. And it is always a mistake. Now, Nettie says, I thought as a Christian I needed to support my spouse. Of course you do. Supporting, though, doesn't mean giving into negativity, doesn't mean allowing yourself to be used. That's a whole different, we'll talk about that next week when we talk about relationships. Don't allow anyone to get to the point where you have to ask them for simple things and they have a right to say no. That is control. That's a coercively controlled relationship, and it is fundamentally unhealthy. Same goes for privacy. Do you have somebody that's constantly checking up on you, reading your emails, reading your looking on your cell phone? That's not okay. I grew up with a family where I was trusted because I would tell my mom. I was open with my parents because I had both parents growing up, which is a good thing. I would tell my parents what I was up to, so I was trusted. And I also was taught the value of privacy. If I had my diary and left it open on the dining room table, no one in my family would have read it. They would have known it was mine, they would have closed it and given it to me. Everybody needs some privacy. So if you have neither privacy nor the right to take action without getting someone's permission, again, that's a coercively controlled relationship. We'll talk about that next week. Rule 24, spend more time with those who appreciate you. This again is about the cluster Bs. Try to spend as little time as possible with them. They are a drain. And anything you give into them, it just does not grow. Okay? It's like putting fertilizer on fallow ground. It is just not going to grow. It's just going to waste your time and energy. So keep it down to a minimum. Spend more time and energy on those people who appreciate you. Rule 25, keep learning and improving yourself. Keep going, keep going, keep going. I don't care how old you are. New studies in neuroplasticity over the last 20 years have shown that we can learn at any age. And that continuing to learn not only makes you a better person, but the fact that your parts of your brain are firing can also keep you from developing Alzheimer's and dementia and all sorts of other things. Keep learning, keep improving yourself. As long as you're above the ground, not below it, keep improving yourself. And believe me, one of the things I do when I research this stuff, anything I learn that's positive, I apply to myself as well. So I am many things. Hypocrite? No. Now, here's some other just broad and helpful tips. They're not necessarily rules. The other ones are like firm, fast rules. If you do those, you will be more attractive to everybody. You'll get more respect. People will not be afraid to bond with you. They'll admire you. They'll want to be around you. Here's some additional helpful tips. If something feels off, do the circles of intimacy test. Again, episode 11, I show you what to do. Figure out if there's a relationship that doesn't feel right. And remember, it can feel off if someone else cares about you more than you care about them. And in that case, a person of principle and integrity will limit what you ask of that other person. Even though they're happy to do it, you don't use people. A person of integrity and principle does not use and exploit other people. Accept people as they are. I found this was just so much easier. But I also limit my vulnerability to that person, my exposure to that person. So I have people in my family very troubled, very difficult, whatever. I don't try to change them. What they do well, what I love about them, we deal with that. If they want my advice, they know I'm a professional, they can ask. If they don't ask, I'm not offering it. But I also don't let them draw me into their drama. Accepting people as they are does not mean you allow them to draw you into their drama. Again, it's also, if they are cluster B, they will always have drama. You need to build some barriers. You need to have some definite lines in the sand. You say, okay, you can't go past this. Helpful tip 3, be discerning when you ask for advice. Now, we mentioned before, and Nettie made a comment about asking for advice, that You need someone who's actually going to give you the truth. They're not going to just soft sell everything because your ego is so fragile. But ask for advice from somebody who not only knows the information but lives by the information. So I want you to start being really discerning when you ask people for advice. Helpful tip 4, you don't have to share your views with everyone. Take it from somebody who works in a field where almost everybody's progressive left but me. Although that's changing a little bit. A lot of them don't know my politics because I don't bring it up. If they say something I disagree with, I don't have to tell them I disagree with you. Unless it's specific and they ask me a question, I just turn the topic back on to what the thing we share, the project we're moving on. My whole Healing the Rift program shows you how people with really different views can actually work cohesively as a team. And one of the ways to do that is you don't keep discussing things that where you know there is visceral, emotional disagreement. You just stay out of it. You don't have to tell everybody. However, don't lie about your beliefs and principles. If someone asks you specifically, be honest. You don't have to get on a soapbox, but just be honest. Tell them. One of the reasons the progressive left were able to gain so much power, especially in so many industries, is because they very effectively silenced anybody who would ask questions or disagree. So that people coming into that environment thought, well, this must be right and true because, it's the policy of the organization and everyone must agree with this because whenever this person says something, does something, when the organization says, we celebrate whatever it is, nobody says no. So it must be something we all agree on. Well, no, it's not. They've just intimidated people to not and punished people for saying no. Nettie says, finding an honest person is like trying to find a needle in the haystack. No, actually, the more you are something, the more you will attract what you are. So being an honest person like this, no soapbox, so you don't make people who believe differently feel on edge and uncomfortable and judged. But if they ask you, you just simply state what you believe and leave it. When you're honest like that, it gives other people tacit permission to be honest as well. And you'd be surprised how little agreement there sometimes is in a group. Everybody just went along because they thought everybody else believed that because nobody had the courage to actually stand up and say no. I also, while I said, not around negative people, not around, the happy-go-lucky, everything happens for a reason, things will just work out. No, they're a pain. But also don't be doom and gloom. I rarely come across a situation that can't be fixed. If you're willing to honestly discern what the problem is, facts, not feelings, even when every group I belong to is disadvantaged, I will look and say, we have a problem here. But then my next step is, so let's think about how we can start fixing it. A doom and gloom person just identifies the problem. They blow it all out of proportion. They're always depressed. They're always anxious. They're always upset. They're a drain. And last helpful tip, count your blessings and appreciate the small things. I promise, if you do what I'm talking about this time, you will not be in a relationship where everybody else is always calling the rules or calling the qualification situations. They're the ones, making all the decisions. They're the one in charge. They're the ones leading the show. You will gain so much power and control in your relationships from following these rules and the helpful tips. And I want you to contact me and let me know how it goes. And if there's something specifically, I want you to tell me and we can talk about it. Now, the final tip, figure out where are my shortfalls and then start fixing what's broken. You don't know what your shortfalls are? Give permission to your nearest and dearest, your ride and die people, who know you won't reject them even if they tell you the truth. Ask them. They'll tell you, and then start fixing it. Please, questions and comments, I'm going to post this on X. So you can leave the questions or comments there, or you can contact me. Now, I also want to talk to you about my business, Ethical Strategic Solutions. Within 2 weeks, I have my new really cool website going on. I've been in business for a long time. It's just a new website. Here's screenshot this as a way of getting in touch with me. These are my education and training programs, but I also want to tell you, I do also work with individuals, couples, families, but I also have education and training programs unlike anything else that's being done elsewhere because it has both social psychology and neuroscience in it. So everything is done to be the most effective, to actually embed itself in the brain and then be acted on in people's lives. So Ethical Strategic Solutions is the go. I also have books. And while you're on Amazon getting your copy of the Pfizer papers, you can also look up my books. Here's a couple of them. I have another one, but this is a good start. So contact me on X at Dr. Dina1 or email me. I'm actually giving my show people my real email, drdinablog@gmail.com. So what did you think? And before I go, I have to just say, Healthy Marie says it's quite brave to speak out in a group setting if you don't agree with some indoctrinating policy. It is brave. But remember, one of the earlier rules, go back to the beginning, self-reliance. Again, if you're not preachy and you just say this goes against my beliefs and leave it, you actually embolden other people to start saying, this isn't true with a capital T, this is somebody else's belief. It doesn't match my own beliefs and principles. And if not, I've found people have come to me afterwards and been very bold and said, I thought everybody had to go along with this. So anything you need me for, contact me. Otherwise, we're going to be doing the rules on relationships next week. Followed the following week, I'm going to talk about manipulation and control. Ooh, that's going to be a really hot one. But as far as relationships, intimate relationships, we're going to talk about it next week. So I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me here on Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and I will see you then.